Happy holidays, everyone, and thank you for joining me again. Today, I want to share with you some tips and recipes for hosting either a Christmas or New Year's dinner. Here's the menu. I'm serving a warm and comforting sweet potato soup for the first course, elegant but inexpensive turkey loaf Wellington with a side of roasted veggies for the main course, and gorgeous chocolat pot de creme for the grand finale. This dinner is entirely stress-free because all of the dishes can be prepared well ahead of time. You can relax and enjoy a cocktail when your guests arrive. Let me put on my apron and we can head into the kitchen. We're going to start with the sweet potato soup. And just to prove to you how stress-free this dinner is, my dinner party is tomorrow. We're having an early Christmas dinner, and I'm going to do 2, maybe 3 of the recipes today, and then I will do 1 or 2 recipes tomorrow. So I have 2 sweet potatoes here, about 2 pounds worth, and I'm just peeling them, and then I will roughly chop them. I will also need a couple of onions that are peeled and chopped, but you and I grew onions together in last summer's garden. We peeled and sliced and chopped them and froze them, so that's what I'm using today. I do need a couple of leeks, just the white and tender green parts, which I will roughly chop. And I did wash these leeks. Now, the reason we can just roughly chop everything is because this is a pureed soup. We also need a couple of teaspoons of minced garlic. This is garlic that you and I grew together in last summer's garden, and that we froze as little pucks. So I'm going to use that today. And I will go over the other ingredients as we add them to the soup pot. I have my 5-quart Dutch oven over medium heat, adding butter and olive oil. And I will post the recipe that I'm following in the description box below. When the butter melts, we can add the onion, the leeks, and the garlic. Give everything a stir. Cover the pot, lower the heat, and let the veggies cook until they soften. That will take about 5 minutes. So once my veggies have softened, I'm going to stir in sweet potatoes, cumin, chicken stock, salt, and pepper. This sweet potato soup was a huge hit at my early Christmas dinner. I will link the recipe in the description box below. I'm going to raise the heat, bring this mixture to a boil, and when it achieves a boil, I will cover the pot and let it simmer until the sweet potatoes are done. That will take about 20 minutes. And the soup is done. I've let it cool for a few minutes. Now, I need to puree the soup, and for this, you could use an immersion blender, but I prefer to use my Vitamix. The immersion blender does a great job, but the Vitamix does an even better job. Then I need to rinse out my pot. here is our beautiful, beautiful sweet potato soup. I will let this soup cool to room temperature, uncovered, and then I will cover the pot and refrigerate it overnight. And tomorrow, for the first course, I will simply reheat the soup and then serve it, and I think I will garnish each serving with a small amount of cream. We're going to do the dessert next, and I chose chocolat pot de crème because, well, we need chocolate at Christmas time. And also, this dessert is perfect for make-ahead. And the first thing I need to do is preheat my oven to 325 degrees Fahrenheit. Then I need to arrange 6 8-ounce ramekins in a baking dish. And for the pot de crème, I need 2½ cups of heavy cream, which I add just enough of. And we can pour this into a heavy bottom pot. Then I'm going to add 1/3 cup of regular granulated sugar. And we can stir the two together. And then I'm going to set this aside for a moment. Then I need 5 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. Now, one of my subscribers, his name is Mike, just sent me some beautiful chocolate. It's called Guittard. Well, that's the brand name. And I need to figure out 5 ounces here. Contains 3 2-ounce bars. So here's 2, 4, and then half of this one will make 5. Ta-da! And I have some chocolate left over. It's always a nice thing. And I want to thank Mike for sending me this chocolate. And of course, you can use any baking chocolate for this recipe. And I don't even think I have to chop this chocolate. I just have to break off the little squares. Normally, if I use a whole chocolate bar, I chop it. And the only other ingredient I need is 5 yolks from large eggs. And I'm going to put the yolks in this bowl and the whites in this little bowl. And then I can freeze the whites and save them for the next time I want to make a souffle. I always make a souffle for Valentine's Day, but that's 2 months from now. I need to bring the cream and sugar mixture just to a simmer. While we're waiting on the sugar and cream to come to a simmer, I'm going to beat the egg yolks until they turn pale and thick. Let's check on the cream. And our cream and sugar have reached the simmer stage. So now I want to melt the chocolate. In you go. And I'm doing this off heat. Now I'm going to whisk this somewhat melted chocolate until it finishes melting and looks smooth. While whisking constantly, I'm going to add this hot chocolate to the egg yolks. I'll just do this a little at a time because I do not want to scramble my egg yolks. This looks and smells fantastic. I need to divide the pot de creme mixture amongst the 6 ramekins. Pot de creme cooks in a water bath or a bain-marie. So I'm going to add boiling water to reach just halfway up the sides of these ramekins. And into the oven they go, just until the custard jiggles slightly in the center. That will take about 40 minutes. And while the pot de creme is cooking, we can start setting the table. This is the centerpiece that you and I made together about 3 weeks ago. Today, I will refresh the greenery, plus lay down a tablecloth and arrange place settings for 4 people. I think this neutral tablecloth will make a pleasant background for the white and gold dinnerware I'm planning to use. For the green boughs in the centerpiece, I'm using Taxus hicksii and Thuja green giant from my garden. I'm working quickly here because it's cold outside and I forgot to wear a coat. Now I'm putting a Christmas cracker at each place setting. Christmas crackers are colorful tubes that contain a paper crown or a small toy. They make a loud cracking sound when 2 people pull the twisted ends apart. Christmas crackers have been around since the 1850s. They are a fun, interactive part of a holiday dinner. as you will see later, I'm serving a full-bodied Cabernet wine for the first and main course, and Prosecco for the dessert course. This pot de creme looks absolutely spectacular. And I need to transfer the individual custards to a cooling rack, which I can do with the help of these tongs. Now, I want to show you this first one so you can see that it just jiggles in the center. And that's how you know the pot de creme is perfectly cooked. I plan to serve my pot de creme with some mascarpone and some chocolate shavings. I'm going to let the pot de creme cool to room temperature, and then I will cover it with cling film and refrigerate it until serving time tomorrow. Also tomorrow, we will make the turkey loaf Wellington, and I can't wait. Sweet dreams, friends. See you tomorrow. Good morning, friends. It's early Christmas party day. We've already made our first course and our dessert. So now we are going to make our main course, turkey loaf Wellington and its sides. And the first thing I need for the turkey loaf Wellington is 2 sheets of puff pastry dough, thawed but cold. And I have this recipe on my website, and I will link it in the description below. I need to roll one of these sheets of puff pastry into a 12-inch square, and the other sheet I will cut into a 9 by 5-inch rectangle. So right now we have a 9-inch square. Here is our 9 by 5-inch rectangle. And then this leftover piece will be used to decorate the turkey loaf Wellington. Now, I normally use ground beef for this Wellington and call it meatloaf Wellington, but this year I'm using turkey. I'm going to loosely cover this puff pastry and then pop it into the refrigerator until we need it. And for the turkey loaf, I will need the equivalent of 1 medium diced onion, which is about this much, maybe a little more. This is frozen diced onion from last summer's garden. I also need garlic. I'm going to use one of my garlic pucks. And then we need to saute the onion until it softens and colors a bit. Avocado oil, and onion. Then I need to chop up some mushrooms. The onions behind me smell just terrific. And now that they've got a little color on them, we can add the garlic and the chopped mushrooms. And I will saute the mushrooms until they lose all of their moisture and the skillet looks dry. Garlic. And of course, the garlic will break up as it thaws. Mushrooms. I also need to add 1½ teaspoons of salt. And you can see the moisture is already coming out of the mushrooms. Our mushrooms have evaporated off all of their moisture. The skillet looks dry, so we can set this aside for a moment. For the turkey loaf mixture, beat egg yolks in a large bowl. Then add breadcrumbs, ground turkey, ground pepper, Parmesan cheese, and the sautéed mushroom mixture. Mix thoroughly by hand, and then form the ground turkey into a 9 by 5 inch loaf. My hands are clean, and now I wanted to explain that this turkey loaf Wellington is closely related to beef Wellington, except it is much easier to make and it is infinitely less expensive to make. So now I have my 9 by 5 inch piece of puff pastry here, and I'm going to arrange thin slices of prosciutto half on and half off the pastry. Now we can put the meatloaf, or rather the turkey loaf, on top and bring the prosciutto up and over the loaf. Then I need to arrange more prosciutto lengthwise over the top so that the turkey loaf is completely encased in prosciutto. Now I need my 12-inch piece of puff pastry that I will arrange at an angle. Now I need to moisten the edges of this pastry with a little water. This way the pastry will stick when I tuck it under the 9 by 5 inch piece of pastry. And I'm happy to report that this is easier to do than it sounds. Next, we need to cut 3 steam vents in the top. And to ensure that this pastry browns beautifully in the oven, I'm going to brush it all over with beaten egg. Now we can turn this remaining strip of puff pastry into decorations. I need my cookie cutters. I don't know what shape this is called, maybe a flower. I'm going to use it for at least some of the decoration. And then I want to brush these little decorations with some of the egg. One of the many nice aspects of this turkey loaf Wellington is that you can make it a good 4 hours ahead of serving time and just pop it into the refrigerator, which I am going to do right now. So I've already prepped some broccoli florets, and now I have 3 carrots from the garden. And I'm going to peel the carrots and then either slice them or cut them lengthwise. So these are the carrots that you and I grew together in last summer's garden, and that we harvested and refrigerated. And refrigerated carrots, well, if you refrigerate them unwashed, will last a good 6 months in the refrigerator. To trim the tops and bottoms. And we can add the carrots to the broccoli. Give them a drizzle of olive oil, salt and pepper, and toss. And these can go on a baking tray. And these can roast at the same time as the turkey loaf Wellington. Just going to pop this into the refrigerator. And then again, I'm going to bring in firewood and practice piano. And I will see you at dinner time. It's getting close to dinner time. So I'm going to pop this turkey loaf Wellington into the oven. 25 minutes at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And then another 25 minutes at 375 degrees Fahrenheit. And during the turkey loaf Wellington's final 25 minutes in the oven, I will add the veggies and let them roast. And if the turkey loaf and the veggies are ready before I am, I will just keep them warm in a 200 degree Fahrenheit oven. And about 20 minutes before we are ready to eat, I'm going to rewarm the sweet potato soup on the lowest flame on the stove. I toasted some homemade bread to accompany the first course soup. I will garnish the soup with a drizzle of cream and a sprinkling of homegrown dried parsley. This turkey loaf Wellington looks fantastic. I'm going to let it sit for 5 minutes so the juices can recede. Everyone adored this turkey loaf Wellington. I cut it into 1-inch slices and served it alongside the roasted veg. The chocolat pot de crème was the perfect finish for this dinner. I garnished each serving with mascarpone and chocolate shavings. Well, my guests have left, and I can tell you that this was a spectacular dinner party. And because we made everything ahead of time, I had almost no work to do today. And believe me, if I can make a dinner like this all by myself, I'll wager that you can too. Again, I will put all of the recipes in the description box below. And to see the description, you simply click on the title of the video. I have one more episode to do before Christmas, but in case you missed that one, let me wish you right now the happiest of holidays. And I can't wait to see you next time. Bye for now, friends.